Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and welcome back to making tower defense games in Game Maker Studio 2.3 in 3D. So, last week, we fixed a bunch of bugs and made the user interface look a lot nicer. And today I'm going to be back making tower types. So there are two more tower types that I want to make in this game. One is that I'm officially going to ditch this friendly encouragement tower because one, it doesn't really fit with the theme of the game. As far as like bug elimination goes. That's funny considering that I'm writing code and spending about half my time doing that. And two, it's not something I'm really interested in mechanically, unfortunately. Buffing other towers, it has its uses in games, in tower defense games. Plenty of tower defense games have mechanics like that, but I'm just not as interested in it as different tower types, and I want to keep it simple. Alright. So, I am leaking lives like mad, and I am officially, dead. So the first thing is going to be, a bird's nest tower. I think I mentioned this before. I think I've mentioned both of these in past videos. But quickly, the other two tower types that I'm considering are a bird's nest tower, which is going to just, like, spawn birds, which fly around it, and probably occasionally like one-hit KO something that walks past, or at least do a lot of damage to it. And the second one is something that someone suggested a while ago, which is a magnifying glass, because, you know, magnifying glass, ants. Believe it or not, that's not something I actually have first-hand experience with doing, but I know a number of kids have done that at some point in their childhood. Alright, so the tower database is over here. And friendly tower is commented out. I can replace that with tower underscore bird or something like that. Let's see, bird nest, and I think I'm going to make the base stats similar to like the flypaper dispenser. It's going to work mechanically similar to the flypaper dispenser in that you will spawn up to, for example, 2 birds at a time, and they will fly around in a circle around the nest, but instead of applying a slowing effect, it'll actually do damage. So the fire rate is going to be 1. I'll actually make this 2 because that's seconds, and it'll spawn birds a little bit more slowly. The range 4 times 32. That's probably fine, right? I don't think range is really going to be a big part of this, as you will see soon. The damage is going to be, let's make it like 5. Cost. This is probably also going to be pretty good, so I'll make it like 40 as my base cost. And the model. Alright, so I have not made myself a bird nest model. I will do that real quick. Let me see how quickly I can do this. Should I put all the towers and stuff in their own folder? Nah. I'm gonna manage those differently later anyway. Let's see. I don't need tower buff anymore, so that can be renamed to tower bird. And I can just open this and this is the same as the rook-shaped basic tower model, right? I think. Okay, so here we go. That's a bird nest. Alright, that's cool. That looks less god-awful than some of the other tower designs that I've made. Out of curiosity, this is almost 900 triangles, which is more than most of the other things that I've made, I think, since the spheres, ellipsoids use a lot of triangles if you have a high precision level. I will actually put smooth shading on this. Let's see, that's the saving scale. That's not smooth shading. I will put smooth shading on this. And save that. It's going to take a while to save, or at least longer to save, because this is like Game Maker 7 and evaluating smooth shading is slow. Yeah, this is the biggest tower model file that I have by about 40 kilobytes. No, 30 kilobytes, which is a decent amount. So this is going to be tower bird. Let's see. Next, in the room editor, so that I can actually do something with this and spawn one in. let's set the label on that text to bird nest. And when I go to edit, no, not what I wanted to do. Creation code is what I wanted to do. New entity tower. Tower underscore bird. All right, so we should be spawning one of those now. It's not going to do anything super exciting. Because I haven't actually implemented any behavior. It should behave like a normal tower. So if I spawn in a bird nest, yeah, all right. That looks okay. Smooth shading isn't quite there. I might need to make the normal threshold a little bit lower, but okay. If I send in, I see the bounding box is kind of big. If I spawn in, okay, so you are shooting fast. Oh, that's shots per second. That's the opposite of what I wanted. All right. I can close that for now. Let's make shots per second 0.5. Like the fire shooter does. Let's do this again. What determines the bounding box size of these objects? Did I hard code them to something? I may have hard coded them to something. Anyway, you're gonna come in. The ants are marching one by one. All right, so you are indeed shooting slower. That will be the rate at which you spawn birds. Okay, let me commit this. Bird nest tower setup. I believe a lot of the behavior. Okay. A lot of the behavior for these different tower types is in a subclass of tower. This can go entirely, can't it? This isn't referenced anywhere. I can get rid of entity tower buff. That's not of any interest to me. I can get rid of that. Entity tower spray. I said flypaper would be the most similar, I think. Actually, no. It might be. It depends. The birds could either eat a certain number of bugs before they despawn. They could just stick there permanently, or they could time out after a certain number of seconds. The first one that I said would be more like tower flypaper. The second one that I said would be more like tower spray. And the third one that I said would be more like just any other tower, really. Neither, I guess, in a sense, because they don't go away. I'm going to copy entity tower spray. All right, there's a reason I'm doing this one next, and it's because it's very similar to two things I've already implemented. Entity tower bird. Spawn spray is a method. I'm going to change that to spawn bird. This is attempting to spawn one on the track. Okay, that's fine. The birds are going to circle around the nest. I'm not going to have them like flying up and down the map or anything crazy like that. One, I feel like that'll be distracting, and two, that'll probably take quite a bit longer to implement correctly. So the first thing we do is reset the shot cooldown. That's fine. I'm going to say spawn entity bullets bird, because birds are now bullets. That makes sense. And the position is probably just going to be in front of me. Let's make the radius. Let's hardcode that to 32. This could be dependent on like tower rank. Birds could spawn at a different radius, depending on your tower rank. I'll worry about that in due time. Let's see. Okay, so and then you're going to need to add this to the all entities list naturally. We're gonna say birds.reposition and ds list add bird. Was dist was a okay, dist and deer. I can just leave this alone now, actually. Distance is going to be 32 units away from the tower's origin, and direction is going to be 270. So pointing south relative to the tower is where the birds will always spawn. Entity bullets bird does not yet exist. This, I feel like I want to make you higher off the ground. Okay, the bird tower exists. Let's... mark that commit, and entity bullet bird is something that I will want to implement. So just to give us a starting point, I'm going to copy and paste. I'm going to duplicate the bullet bug spray code. So we're going to say entity bullet bird, and we're going to have a default constructor. Lifetime and radius, I'm not going to worry about this right now. Radius can be 32. We don't want birds to be like picking off something that's way far away from it. Reposition is going to equal this. Is there a point to it even having collision? Because these things really... Oh no, the reason that the bug spray and the flypaper has those is so that they can land on the track. I don't think I need those. I can just set the position and not the collision data. Nobody cares about the collision data. I can also, you know what? Saying reposition when we're just saying XYZ is a little bit frivolous. It looks bad to say .x equals .y equals .z equals. Okay. I'm going back and forth with myself a little bit here. So right now, right now, the birds are just going to behave like bug spray, except they're going to deal regular damage instead of poison damage. Let's see, let's put you there, and I'm spawning... Oh, okay, I'm spawning regular bullets. I should probably implement a type of bullet data. Hang on, no, wait. Oh, okay, wait. What I didn't do is I didn't actually instantiate this, which is why it's acting like a regular tower. Let's go back to the room editor. When you click this button, what it actually spawns, there's a couple different towers it can spawn. We want the entity tower bird to spawn instead of a regular tower. All right, let us try this again. So I do see that you are spawning there, and you're not really doing anything. You're not moving or anything, but you are spawning, and there are more and more of them spawning on top of each other. If I let this run for long enough, and we somehow don't miraculously die, we will have ourselves a bit of a memory leak. In hindsight, I probably should have copied flypaper instead when it comes to the spawning mechanism, but we can work something in. The reason I say that is because we will only have up to X birds on the screen at once, and they will last there for some amount of time, and you will only spawn a new one when you've run out of birds, and not just on a regular timer, which is more of what the bug spray tower does. Okay. The way that this is done is okay, there's a paper count and a paper limit. I can work that in there. Bird count is going to be 0. Bird limit is going to be 0. Actually, you know what? I want to make them circle first. So, entity bullet bird, I'm going to give this a couple more properties. The bird bullets are going to have a couple more properties. One is going to be nest. Which we're going to pass into the constructor, and the other is going to be the nest radius. I'm going to rename just radius to attack radius, and that way we know that this is the distance that an object must be within the bird to in order to take damage from it. And nest is going to be home nest and nest radius. Actually, let's call this home. It's going to equal home nest, and home radius is going to equal nest radius. Just so that we can have different names. You could also say self.that equals that, but okay, fine. Why are variable names like the hardest part about programming? Anyway, if we want them to orbit the nest, we're also going to need to, in addition to a source object and a distance from the object, we're going to need an angle of some sort. So I can say self.nest angle equals 0 or something of that nature. Actually, I spawned them at the bottom. So let's make that 270. That's going to be hard-coded. That's going to be a magic number. I'm fine with that. Oh, you know what? This code is still here, so that wouldn't have been a memory leak earlier. But I will say, reposition x is going to be nest.x plus nest radius times the degree cosine of nest angle. Y is going to be nest.y, new.y, nest.y minus nest radius times the degree sine of nest. I keep doing that, angle. And z is going to be nest.z plus 16. Again, hard-coded. Doesn't matter. For now, nest angle plus plus, we are going to slowly circle, and we are not going to really care much about speed. I just want to see them moving. Oh, you know what? That's not going to work yet. We need to pass these two things to the constructor. Where are entity bullet fly paper, entity tower? Why is this open? That should be collapsed. Entity tower spray, entity tower bird. This needs to take a couple more parameters to the constructor. The nest is going to be this, and the nest radius is going to be distance for now. Okay, and there is a 2-second cooldown, which is 120 frames. So when the first one gets 120 degrees around the nest from the origin, we should be spawning a new one. Okay, or we can crash immediately. Is it position.xyz? I think it's position.xyz. If anyone's wondering why z showed up in the error message before x or y, function arguments in GameMaker and other computer languages are evaluated back to front. So the last argument in the function was evaluated first, and then the next one. And okay, so they time out about pretty much as soon as the next one is spawned, which is okay, I guess. And they do indeed get 120 degrees around the nest before spawning the new one. That's fine. Spawn birds, kinda, is the commit message there. So I think I don't want these to time out, at least not for now. They may time out later. I'll get to that later. But for now, I won't make them time out. I will, however, say we are only going to be allowed to spawn up to, I guess, 2 of these. And possibly 3 or 4 when you upgrade the tower. The fly paper tower keeps track of the number of things that it spawned as an integer. We are not really going to be doing that. We're going to be keeping track of the things that we've spawned as a list. Let's see. Bird spawned. You know, spawning birds sounds like something. Spawning sounds like something you do more with like fish or frogs. So I'm gonna say hatch bird. This is a very important distinction as far as the lore of this game goes. Anyway, birds is gonna equal ds list create. Actually, you know what? This can be an array. We're not dealing with huge numbers here. I'm allowed to push onto an array, and arrays are garbage collected, so that'll make my future life somewhat easier. When you hatch a bird, in addition to adding it to the all entities list, array push birds. So this is going to keep track of all the birds that we have spawned. Array push, for those of you who don't know, is a function that exists. I don't like using it because it tends to be very slow for large arrays, when you add something to an array, arrays have to be continuous in memory, so when you add something to it, you have to essentially reallocate the same amount of memory plus 1, copy the original array into it, and then stick whatever you want onto the end. You can't just add an element nice and easy the way you can with lists, because lists are arrays with some optimizations. It would be nice if array push behaved like dslist add, but when you have an array of 100 elements, 200 elements, 500 elements, you definitely do not want to be pushing things onto it, because it is slow, because you have to reallocate all that memory and copy stuff into it, and it sucks. But since there's only going to be 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 birds at a time on the screen, we can get away with saying array push. And also because this isn't going to be happening in every single step event or every single draw event, this is only going to happen periodically. I'm going to add another variable, bird limit. This is going to be 2. Actually, let's make it 3, because the more the merrier. Let's make the limit 3 birds. If shot cooldown is less than or equal to 0, and array length birds is less than bird limit, then you will hatch another bird. In addition, actually, let's run the game now. I'll worry about the distance and the direction later. Let's see, bird nest, we're gonna put you there, and respawn another one, and respawn a third, and it shouldn't be spawning anymore. I realized that if it were to spawn a fourth, it would be right on top of the first one, because 120 degrees times 3 is 360 degrees, which is exactly where you started. But that's more or less what I want it to look like. Okay. This, I realized that the whole position thing here, I realize, is kind of redundant, because it sets its position. Where is it? It sets its position exactly in the step event in the update. So I don't really need that code. That's kind of duplicated code. I don't really want it there. But let's have another look. All right, it's going to behave the same as before, just with less duplicated code. That's good. Is that worthy of a commit? Spawn birds. I wanted to do one more thing before I make a commit. And that one more thing is going to be, where is it? That's flypaper. That one more thing is going to be the distance that it spawns. Further birds that are spawned should... I want them to be farther away from the nest. So we're going to say distance is going to equal 32, which is going to be the base distance, plus array length birds times like 16. So each bird that gets spawned successfully will be 16 more units away from the nest than the previous one. Again, that'll start to look really weird if you spawn like 30 birds, and then they start to get really far away from the nest, and then you would have an entire like solar system of birds out here. But since we're only going to have a small number of them, I think that's fine. Okay. That looks all right to me. The distances look all right to me. There is the fact that the birds, they're all moving at the same angular velocity. If you remember that from physics class in school, all the birds are moving with the same angular velocity. They're all advancing by 1 degree per frame, or 60 degrees per second. And that means the outer one is moving at a faster speed than the inner ones. And I don't know if I like that. I kind of feel like, the inner one should be moving faster, and the outer one should be covering the same linear distance as the inner ones. And you guys are not doing any damage, which is a separate issue. I don't know if that's because I don't know if that's because you're actually doing no damage, or if it's just because you're not doing enough damage to actually have any effect. Which is part of the reason why I want them to move faster, so that they cover more ground and can hit more stuff, and are like less useless. I did say at the beginning that I was picturing them like doing large amounts of damage periodically, didn't I? I died. Which is kind of counter to what I just said. Alright, let's deal with one problem at a time. First problem is going to be committing this. Spawn birds. Okay, hang on, wait. Alright, GitHub desktop froze. Hatch birds correctly. Again, we've got to keep our commit messages lore friendly. Let's see what else. So the relation between angular velocity and linear velocity that something covers is linear distance is going to be equal to the angular velocity times the radius. Omega equals I times r, I believe the equation is. Omega is equal to linear velocity divided by radius, is what it actually is. If you want them to keep a set linear velocity, which we can just say is going to be something like, let's declare it here as a local variable. Let's make this something like 32 units per second. That's a little on the slow side. Let's make it 100 units per second. We need nest angle to plus equal the angular velocity, which is, as I said, linear velocity divided by, what was it? Self dot nest radius divided by nest radius. And this should make them all move at the same linear speed, regardless of how far away they are from the source. Now you're moving decently fast. You are moving at, it looks like, about the same speed, and you are indeed lapping each other periodically. All right. This looks cool. We've got a solar system of birds. Well, they don't look like birds yet. And they're occasionally lining up. The stars are occasionally aligning like that. All right, that's fine. That's working as intended. Yeah, they don't look like birds, which is the next problem. I also need to actually verify that they're actually doing damage, which is going to be a second problem. I might take care of that one first because it'll probably be easier. But first, let's mark a commit. All right. Linear and angular velocity fun. I had a classmate in high school once who told me that you don't need math and physics to make games. Joke's on them. I wonder what he's doing now. Haven't heard from him in years. Alright. What was I saying? Let's check to see that entity bullets bird is actually dealing damage. That would be in here. And bullet data on hit is being executed. We are... Let's see, we're just giving you the regular bullet pebble, aren't we? Oh, you know what? On hit is not doing anything of interest. Is that doing any damage when it's set up as a pebble tower? I don't know if that's doing damage when it's set up as a pebble tower. Let me try something real fast. Wow. That was several videos ago now, and I didn't notice. But I think that's not actually going to do any damage because on hit is, on hit doesn't have any code in it. Unless it's calling both. Okay, so it's doing damage and calling the on hit method. That's fine, really. I can do that as well. Just in case we want birds to have like a stunning effect when they hit something. So we can do like that, and birds are actually going to deal damage now. I will leave the on-hit method there. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to want birds to have some secondary effect later. Just to future-proof a little bit, let's create a bullet bird type. It can have the same model, I think. Actually, can it? All right, we'll change that into like the shape of a bird or something. Bullet bird, and let's see. We're gonna do all the same stuff as before. Do bullets have a render method? Bullets have their own render method, right? Update render, they do. Okay, that is going to mean that I can do a couple things, such as if I want to have a billboarded sprite for birds, I can do that. I don't know if I want a billboarded sprite. Let's see. Let's I can't spawn a new one until I have enough money. I note that I cannot right-click to cancel building a tower, only selecting one. All right, let's see if I do more damage to these things here. I feel like if they're doing damage, they should be doing a lot of damage at once, since they're kind of continuously hitting the things. It doesn't look like they're doing damage. All right, let's resort to the good old-fashioned show. Debug message. All right. The wind outside. Good lord. All right. You go. Okay, so we are hitting you. How much damage are we doing? We can print out the foe's health. Foe dot what variable is it? I imagine it's just called HP or something. And all of the code unfolded when I did that because the syntax checker was unable to figure it out. Foe.hp. I really need to separate this into different different code files. Let's build a bird nest there. And we are doing 0 damage to you. Okay, did I accidentally... What's damage being set to? Oh, damage is being set to 0. Interesting. I guess that's probably because I copied this from spray clouds, and spray clouds don't do damage directly. Alright. Bullet damage. It's gonna be that. Bullet bird. What happens when you shoot? Like, just normally. New entity bullet. Shot velocity times that. Base... Okay, so actual damage is just the variable that's assigned to the bullet. Since these things are going to stay... Alright. I'll do it a little differently. Since birds are going to just be permanent, I won't pass in damage as a parameter to the constructor. I will instead say nest dot... Come on. Screw you. Nest dot actual damage. And that way, if the tower's damage goes up when you upgrade it or something, it'll instantly be reflected in the birds without having to do anything else. All right. Yeah, they are quickly decimating whatever happens to walk through them. All right, so that works by virtue of they're doing like 1 damage at a time, or are they doing 1 damage at a time? I think they're doing like 5 damage at a time, but they spend a continuous amount of time inside each of the enemies in collision with each of the enemies, and that quickly reduces their health. Let's see. I don't know if I want that. That feels kind of messy. It'll probably get the job done, I assume. You can see they're just like completely mowing these guys down. All right, that is overpowered. I think I will implement a cooldown. So that a bird can only deal damage like once every certain number of seconds. First, commit this. Bird bullets do damage. Bird bullets do damage. And next, I don't need self. I should have it just as a formality, but damage cooldown is going to equal... let's make it the same as the home nest spawn frequency, which I think is every 2 seconds. We have shots cooldown, actual rate, so that's shots per second. All right, so we will set the damage cooldown on the birds to 1 over home nest.actual rate. 1 over nest.actual rate. Again, these actual and like base values, these are kind of a holdover from when I was thinking the towers were going to have the ability to buff each other, but that has been removed and I don't really intend to go back, so it's just kind of there. And a little bit indirect, but let's see. If if damage cooldown is less than or equal to 0, then we can do this. We can check for damage. And if we actually do damage something, 1, we can break out of this for loop, and 2, we can reset the shot cooldown. And then, yeah, damage cooldown minus equals. It was delta timed, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was delta timed. Okay, yeah, minus equals the delta time. All right. Frame rate independence is a bit of a messy subject in Game Maker. But I personally like thinking of times in terms of seconds instead of in terms of frames. So we'll be going with that. And this should cause, I will leave that there just so that we can see it. This will cause there to be a 2-second delay in between individual birds doing damage, and possibly as fast as a bird doing damage every 2/3 of a second, because there are 3 of them. 2 divided by 3 is 2/3, but that will depend on whether or not they actually like line up in the area. And we can see we are doing large amounts of damage, but it is sporadic, and I think I'm okay with that, at least for now. I didn't actually kill anything yet, which is upsetting. I only did damage twice. All right. I will speed these guys up so that they spend less time in like the inter areas where there is not anything in between. But I will let's see. I will keep the cooldown as to what it is right now. I feel like this is a pretty good fire rate. So when I go to balance it later, it'll be in the ballpark of what I want. Tower spray, bird, minimize, please. Oh, you guys have your own angular velocities, don't I? Linear velocities, don't I? I hard-coded that, or almost hard-coded. It's like a step away from being hard-coded. Let's make your linear velocity 200. There's a saying in game design that says when you're trying to like test a value to see if it feels good or not, either cut it in half or double it. Don't increment it by like 10, because it won't change much. And yeah, you're definitely moving much faster. I don't think I like it doubled. It looks like you're going completely insane, bonkers. And I don't know if I like that, but I think I will make it something like 180 or 160 or so. Let's see if you're able to wipe anything out on the second pass. All right, so you are indeed cutting down whatever happens to be there. All right, this is good. Let's build another one. All right, so this feels about right. Obviously, it is probably not the only tower you should have, because as you see, several things leaked through before I was able to build another one, and it helps to have 2 in order to reliably be able to hit things. We will be dealing damage at best every 1/3 of a second now. In reality, since you're not always in contact with an enemy, it'll be a little less than that. Anyway, let's make this 180. I think we're gonna go with 180. If you're thinking of this as a grid, that's about let's see, 160 would be 5 grid cells per second, and 180 would be like 5.5. 192, I believe, would be 6. All right, that's better. What did I change? Birds cooldown, bird shot cooldown. And the last thing is the visuals. So I could billboard these sprites. I could also, I could make a bird model. I'm thinking of making a bird model. If I did that, I wouldn't have to do things like change the shader at any point. Well, let me make a bird model. Okay, so I went and made 2 birds. One version which has like a beak and feet and stuff, and it's sort of a grayish black. I guess it's a crow or something, or a raven or something interesting like that. one version on the down wing stroke and one version on the up wing stroke, and I'm just gonna toggle between them when I draw the bird. So instead of having a single model for the bullet, we're gonna have multiple models for the bullet. Let's see. When we load the bird, when we instantiate the bird data, we are going to say load model. How about bullet bird down.d3d, and then I'm going to do something that you probably, it feels kind of gross every time I do, and that is going to be to just assign a new variable to bullet_bird after it's been created, like not part of the constructor, not part of the create event or anything, but GML is a dynamic language, so we might as well make use of that. Bullet bird dot animation frames is going to be this, and also up. So this particular bullet object is going to have some variables that all the other ones don't have, which is specifically going to be an array containing some various frames of object animation. Okay, now the render method for bullets. Normally, this is going to involve just drawing the bullet's vertex buffer. We're not going to do that here. We're going to do something a little bit different. And we're going to say, instead of drawing bullet data.model.vbuff, we're going to say bullet data.anim data. That's what it was, right? Anim frames. Which is going to be an array. Let's just go with index 0 for now, .vbuff. We're going to draw that instead. And to flip between them at, say, 4 frames per second or so, we will evaluate that. But first, let's just make sure that it's actually drawing the thing. And that's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to make those smaller. Okay. Before I do anything else, let's make those smaller. Did I close model creator? I guess I did. Bullet bird up and bullet bird down. I'm going to shrink those down to like half size. Again, half things or double them when testing. It will make your life much easier than trying to fine-tune values from like right off the bat. 0.5. I feel like they should be flapping kind of fast since they are moving at that speed. And also, they should the rotation should be angled to face the direction that they are moving in. Let's see. That's still big. Did I not save? Is something wrong? Those still look like they were the same size that they were. I mean, I can always just set the scale in the transform matrix, but if I can, I'd rather. It doesn't look like I actually scaled it down. That was dumb. So what I had, the error there was that I had the up flap part of the model loaded in both windows of Model Creator, and therefore I was editing that file twice, and I wasn't actually editing the down flap version of the file, which is the one that's actually like locked into this this animation, if you can call it that right now. Okay, crisis averted. Let me commit added animation for birds. I'm not going to commit that yet, actually. Let's see, let's make another variable. This can be animation frame is going to be 0. Animation rate is going to be 4 per second for 4 frames per second. As I've said, at least right now, var anim speed is going to equal 4. Animation frame, much like nest angle, is going to anim frame animation. Okay, so it's the full word, animation frame. I must have consistency in my names. This is going to be the death of me, I swear. animation frame is going to plus equal anim speed times delta time, so 4 frames per second, times the delta time slice of a second is going to be the amount of time the anim frame increments by each second. And then, let's see. Instead of drawing frame 0 in that array, we are going to draw anim frame modulo array length of, let's see, the same thing, bullet data.anim frames. We're also going to want to round this down. You're allowed to have like fractional numbers as array indices in Game Maker. It's probably not a good idea. It may get rounded in a way you don't expect. So let's round it down ourselves. All right, they're flapping. Cool. They're still moving a little fast. I might bump down the linear velocity to 160. Now we're getting into the business of fine tuning. Okay. The end of this video is taking a lot longer than the beginning was. I hope nobody minds. All right, that's better. We'll leave it at that for now. Added animation for birds, and lastly, we want them to face the same direction as they're moving in, kind of. So that's going to we can. If you wanted to do that for real, you would keep track of the direction between. You would keep track of the direction between the position in the current frame and the position in the previous frame. But since that is only ever going to be like determined by nest angle, the variable that keeps track of where you are flying around the nest, we can cheat that a little bit and just say that the direction that we should be facing in, the rotation on the z-axis, is related to nest angle. Specifically, I believe that's going to be nest angle plus 90 degrees, since assuming the birds are facing in the same direction that I think they are. Since if nest angle is 270, we're going to be positioned to the south of the nest, and we'll be in that moment moving to the right, which is a direction of 0 in Game Maker. So 270 plus 90 is 360, modulo 360 is 0. I think that should be it, assuming they're not, like, rotated. Funny. We'll find out, though. Okay, so I do need to rotate them 90 degrees in here in order for that to work. Or I can just like, skip this. Alright, now they're flying in the right direction. Actually, I think they're facing backwards. The bigger orange thing is the beak, the smaller orange things are the feet. All right, guessing and checking as opposed to actually like doing the math. We're gonna make them face that way. I accidentally typed a rogue character in there. That looks good. The beaks are going in the forward direction. Okay, perfect. We have birds. I was looking forward to making this one. So, I am going to get rid of that rogue character in there. I'm going to push a commit. Birds are facing in the direction they're moving. Let's push that to origin. If you want the code for this, there will be a link to the GitHub repository in the description of this video. Look for the 0.28 release. 0.28. Week 28. Added more birds. I shouldn't say added more birds because that makes it sound like they were birds to begin with. Let's see. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, there will be links to that in all the usual places as well. Otherwise, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you all enjoyed watching that. I try to post about 2 of these game dev videos a week. 1 of these and 1 tutorial. Let's see. Was I supposed to say something else? Was there some other thing that I always say at the end of the videos? I don't remember. I will see you all later. Let's just send in all the waves at once and see if I can handle them. I mean, I doubt I will. Special thanks to David Key, Edward Holt, Emily Koyo, Jason, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want to get access to these things a day early, or to see your name in the credits, head on over to the Patreon page in the video description to join the fun.